here to start the process. It begins as of now, and we think we're going to have tremendous success.
Can't you imagine high fives all around at the White House today after President Trump's address to Congress last night? Most say it was his best speech so far. A CBS News poll out today says 82% of the people who saw the speech felt Mr. Trump was presidential. But tonight the question is, can he turn words into action?
Whether it be with repealing or replacing Obamacare, whether it be with tax relief in the economy, or whether it be with immigration, I think the American people heard they really heard the president in full.
You know, speeches have a shelf life. Just as like his inaugural speech, people forgot it a day or two later and he started getting into mess after mess. Same thing is going to happen here.
Okay, we've got some sharp young people here tonight, and they don't come with talking points. They're going to make it real. We got Brandon Cooper. He's chairman of the Prince George's County Republican Party. Aryn Fields, she's a Democratic activist and American University student. You both agree? Presidential, pretty good speech last night? Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to agree. Okay. What did you like about it?
There's a lot to like about it. I think, like you said, we're high fives all across America. That's the president that I voted for. I like this part on education, immigration, but most important part was health care. I think when he came out and said that pre-existing conditions will be maintained in his new policy, when he said that he's going to increase access to health care, and when he said that he is going to make sure that Medicaid across states support it and lowering prescription costs. That, to me, was a takeaway from the speech.
I got to ask you this. It begs for a question about that health care. Yeah. How does he make that happen? Where are the numbers? Where are the details?
And that's what is coming in the coming weeks and months. I mean, these speeches are speeches, like you said. These are words. Every president that does it, you don't go into in-depth policy speeches at a State of Union address, or else you lose numbers and lose viewers. So we'll see what comes after yesterday's speech. But I think it was a good speech, definitely.
Aaron, what do you think? What did you like? What did you not like?
Well, on the surface, I agree it was a good speech. But when you kind of dig a little deeper, there's a lot of problems with it. He contradicts a lot of what he said with the actions that he's taken. For instance, he talked about the importance of clean water and clean air, but he just signed an executive order to repeal Obama's Clean Water Act. He also talked about the importance of unity and inclusion, but one of the key moments of his speech was talking about undocumented immigrants, having murdered people. And so I just think that for a lot of the message that he was rolling out, that there was just a lot of contradictions within what he was saying and what he actually does.
And if I could on that point, the Clean Water Act, I heard a lot about that on social media. We had clean water before that act, and in my understanding is Flint is still struggling with clean water after that act. And so I think, to put so much focus on that one act that was created a couple years ago, I think that's just overkill.
Let's keep talking about what they must be talking about today. He's meeting with the Republican leaders. So now it's how do we take all this and put it into legislation? And so my question becomes, Republicans up there who are really watching deficit spending, how are they going to respond to this? The cost of infrastructure, tax cuts, the increase in military spending. We can go on, affordable health care. We can go on and on and on. How are they likely to respond to this? How does he get what he wants out of them?
It's going to take bipartisan support, and I think that's kind of the creature of Donald Trump. He was a lifelong Democrat, turned Republican, and so you're seeing some of his policies as a mix of both sides of the aisle. And so I know some people in my own party, particularly on the further conservative end, had some heartburn at some of the comments made by Trump last night because it was a lot of spending and a lot of, they would say, progressive or Democrat ideas. And at the same time, Democrats had some issues with some of the immigration things that he said. So I think both sides had good things and bad things from last night's speech.
Can you see areas where Democrats can work with the president?
Well, I think the biggest moment where Democrats really received what he was talking about was support for parents and childcare, and then education. Those were two areas that Democrats were very receptive. But the rest of the things that he wanted to spend on, I don't think that the numbers do add up. He wants to add how much? $84 billion to the Pentagon, and he wants to do enormous tax cuts for corporate and Wall Street.
$1 trillion for infrastructure.
$1 trillion for infrastructure. The numbers just don't add up where he's laying them out, and he's promising too much.
It's very funny. 8 years ago, Obama promised $8 trillion in infrastructure, and it was all praises. And now Trump is doing it, and now it's a problem. So
well, because Obama's for raising taxes and for increasing more corporate and Wall Street banking taxes. But Donald Trump wants to roll that back and do massive tax cuts. You can't spend that much money and cut taxes. That just doesn't add up.
We will see.
We'll see. Because the question becomes: are we dealing with a populist president here now, or are we dealing with a conservative Republican? He's playing what Muhammad Ali is called the rope-a-dope. I mean,
I think even President Trump will say that he's not a conservative, he is Trump. And I think that is what we're going to see
He's
over
a deal maker.
Over the next 3 years and 10 months, we're going to see President Trump. And I think he's going to surprise people on both sides of the aisle.
Did it bother you when, what's his name from CNN,
Van
Jones.
when he said that Donald Trump, is sounding presidential tonight, that he's president of all the people? Man, was there a backlash. Progressives really went after him, and he had been a champion up until now.
Right. I wouldn't say progressive. I wouldn't say president of all the people would be accurate, but it was a presidential speech. I mean, I can't deny, as much as I am against Donald Trump and I don't approve of his policies, that was the best speech I think he's ever given.
Yeah.
And so he did do a good job performing that speech.
What are you looking for from this president, like from this point on?
So again, I go back to Ronald Reagan's 80-20 rule. I believe with a lot of 80% of what Donald Trump says. I'll say one thing: criminal justice is one thing that I want to see more on. There's a lot of Republican candidates like Senator Rand Paul, like Paul Ryan, who are putting forth some innovative bipartisan efforts on criminal justice, and I have not seen Trump at this moment embrace those. And so that's one thing I want to see more going forward.
Okay, taking Iraq, the talk is he's going to take Iraq out of that ban, the immigration ban. Good move, bad move, doesn't make a difference. What do you think?
I think those 7 countries came from the Obama administration because they thought they were a threat to this country. And so I think if he has intelligence that we don't see, and so it's very odd for me to sit on my couch.
You don't think it was political pressure that's causing him to take Iraq off of that list? I mean, a number of the Iraqis fought alongside Americans. I mean, they
Yeah, it was surprised that they're on the list to begin with. But again, I mean, I'm not in the intelligence briefings. I trust that him and the people around him, more so the career Foreign Service officials around him, are advising him on the security threats.
Aryn, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I actually could disagree. I think that move was 100% political since it was so early in his campaign. The rollout was so horrible that it was a political stunt, and the backlash was awful, and so now repealing it is another political stunt. It was just all for publicity.
All right, to be continued. All right, thank you both.